you and I have had an ongoing discussion about this idea of career anxiety. And I'm curious about what you see with men and career anxiety.
Well, I can only speak from personal experience, my own experience, and then with from that I've gleaned from close friends of mine. And as far as my own personal experience, when I left, I was with ABC for 30 years. When I left there, um, well, actually, even before I left there, my whole thought was, you know, I I am ABC. There's nothing else to me but ABC. They were paying me a lot of money. I had a big swinging title. I was going to Super Bowls and Olympics and taking my wife and family places. It was,
Sweet.
yeah, it was very sweet, very sweet. Um, and I dealt with a lot of clients who I really thought they would say, Daryl, you are ABC to me. You are ABC to me. And so I thought that I was ABC. so, so the anxiety for me came when I realized that those very same people, after I left, that is what I was to them. I was AB, but without ABC, who was I?
Mm.
Right? And I realized that my identity was wrapped up in that. My self-worth was wrapped up in that. And I had to find something quick so that my own self-worth wouldn't suffer and I'd be left with nothing. I mean, in any relationship, you want to think that you're bringing 100% of you. So my relationship with my kids, my relationship with my wife, all of a sudden, I'm anxious because I'm like, who am I?
Mm.
What am I bringing to the table? Right? And if I'm not that, then what? So that's my own personal experience. And now that I've found with friends of mine, um, I mean, I have so much gratitude for the personal development programs that I've been through. So that number one, I could talk it through with my wife. I could talk it through with an advisor and other friends of mine. So I had history in that. But friends of mine had no history
Right.
of personal development. So I see nothing but anxiety written across their faces. And what do I do now? And where am I? And fortunately, we've known each other for 40 years, most of us. So we had a relationship and we could talk a little bit about it. But if they weren't talking to me, I was concerned about who were they talking to,
Right.
and where was that anxiety going. It's, we are a finite being, and stuff gets pushed out someplace. So where is it going? All right, and I didn't want it eating away at them.
I think it's true that most men don't know where to go with this. So tell me about your transition from ABC to where you are now as an entrepreneur.
Well, it was not easy. I really don't want you to think that I'm saying it was easy and it was a snap. It wasn't. I went through 2 years of depression. I didn't even know I was depressed, but it was 2 years of, because I wasn't moping around. I would go out and I would play golf and I would do this and do that. And I kept myself busy, but I had no purpose. And I knew I had no purpose. So I kept myself busy in order not in order not to look at the fact that I had no purpose. um, and yeah, it was depressing. Um, and then I came to the realization with an advisor friend of mine was that I needed that time to decompress. I needed 2 years just to get that constant pressure of hitting quarterly budgets and having 300 people report to me. I needed to get that out of my life, off my plate. I needed to get away from it. So that was the 2 years. Then it was another 3 years of starting a business that, once again, remember I was ABC and now who am I? Well, I would call those people and they, I wasn't ABC anymore, so they didn't return my calls right away. Well, that was a slap in the face, but it was what it was. I kind of had to start over, and so that's what I did. I found out. Took a long look at where the money was going, and I started investigating the businesses that were generating revenue.
Do you want to talk about our process?
Let's.
Okay. So I remember that time well as your friend, and that's when we started talking about the possibility of working together. And you actually went through our program.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me what it was like for you to go through that program and that process and what it did for you.
Well, for me, it gave me a foundation, and, we talked before about what's the next chapter. And it's a quaint old corny saying, but our chapters are, we're like an open book, right? And we have chapters. So what you and I realized was that a lot of men think that the book is closed at a certain point, and they don't realize that there are many more chapters to explore. And what the program offered me was a foundation. That was a jumping off point. It was something that I could grab onto and say, okay, I can follow these steps. I can go through these different levels and do a little exploration. And in the end, what really is it? It's some time, which I have a lot of, right? There's some time, some commitment, and it's a promise to myself. It's an investment in myself. And I started, my self-worth started growing from it. I felt good about its completion. I felt good about what we were doing along the way. It mirrored some of the things that I had done sporadically in the past, so it was great.
I think another thing for men that go through a transition, when I work with men, including you, is the relationship to their family changes. I think you were already on that trajectory, but can you talk about what you are as what your role, how it's different now as a father and husband versus what it was when you were at ABC?
Mm-hmm. Well, first of all, when I was at ABC, I was traveling 2.5 to 3 weeks out of every month. So I wasn't around. When I retired, my kids were 4 and 6 years old. They are now 13 and 10. So, but at 4 and 6, that was a lot of mommy time. And thank God for my wife. She, first of all, she's a wonderful human being, a wonderful mother. And she was built to be a mom. Her mother instincts are fabulous. Sometimes she uses them on me too, which unfortunately I need. But my kids benefited from that. But at 4 and 6, they were starting to get to a point where they needed their dad. Not to be on airplanes, not to be in Chicago and Philadelphia and New York and LA, and not to be playing Mr. Big Time. They needed their dad here. So my relationship with them has grown over the past 5, 6 years because I've been the guy to take them to school, to drop them off. I could be in the PTA. I could be their basketball coach. I could show them how to throw and hit a baseball. I could be present first in my life, but I could be present in their lives too. And for me personally, as an African-American male, African-American boys need that kind of modeling behavior desperately. So if I hadn't have done it, that would have been a life failure.
Fantastic.